We are working on my 4th Gen 4runner today. Bought the lift kit planning to do it anyways, but the main reason we're actually tackling this right now instead of proceeding on some of our other projects is because my axle boots are like absolutely torn up. They're just really bad. Like there's no grease left. It just made sense to tackle this right now so that we could use this to tow cars to events and all that sort of stuff. So what I ended up picking up was a set of Dobinson's suspension, which funny enough, I got this before I met all my friends that have this suspension on there. You know, I've been in their Land Cruisers with it. So these are actually off of a 5th Gen 4runner, and we're gonna be putting them on my 4th Gen. So we have the rears, which, you know, we'll show you the comparison of when we pull these stock ones out, but these are obviously way beefier. Unfortunately, they're not like the really cool turquoise color. They're red, so you kind of have this McDonald's theme going on. Regardless, the guy who had these before, he had them on his wife's 4runner, and they need to put something on in the meantime. And then they eventually upgraded to like remote resis and stuff. So they don't have very many miles on them. I only picked them up for like 300 bucks, so we're gonna chuck them in the car. It should help. It should give like another 1/2 inch lift in the front, and then we have a 2-inch coil in the rear, so should be like, honestly, absolutely perfect. And I'm stoked to see how they ride. So along with that, we have some different upper control arms, some rough countries, and then we have extended front sway bar end links. And then obviously we're doing a lift and we are doing some extended brake lines, so we'll get to that eventually. But you know, we're doing like a mild build, nothing too crazy, but enough for this to be reliable, a little bit lifted, have a little bit more fun in it, but overall just be much more comfortable, because right now we're rocking the, you know, the OEM Bilsteins, which are just, they're honestly really stiff. Bilsteins are kind of known for being really stiff, even though they give you a lift and a little bit more off-road performance. And then we're actually rocking stock rear shocks and coils. So overall, it should transform this thing, and I'm really excited to see how it does.
It is.
Oh, that is crazy.
And now
yeah, once you take out everything. Yep. Okay, so just a quick comparison of the shocks. I mean, you can already see like the size in the suspension. It's just going to be way beefier, has way more fluid to actually pump through as the suspension is working. So I think this will just be such a better upgrade. You can see we roughly have it at the same height here, and the height difference we gain about an inch, 3/4 to an inch. So these are already 1.5 over the stock rake on the 4th gen, and these will be about 2.5, which will be awesome. So aside from that, we have the rough country upper control arms, which it's kind of hard to tell, but if you look close, there's a bit more angle when it comes to the pickup for the knuckle, which will help when you raise it, and it won't give you like, your wheel won't be sitting like that, it'll be more. So we ended up picking these up for roughly 100, 120 bucks on Marketplace, and the bushings seem to still be good, so we're gonna run them. And you know, you can get these, a lot of guys run them on their Tacomas and stuff, and they work for the 4th gen. So something that I was worried about was on the forums, it said that the bottom of the bushing for the front suspension was going to be a bigger bolt size on the 5th gen compared to the 4th gen. But this Dobinson suspension came off of the 5th gen, and the bolts that I have are the exact size to fit in these. So I don't know if there's like certain years that have different size bolts for the lower control arms, or if the V8 version just has bigger bolts. I don't know what the case is, but I'm glad they worked out, because we were ready to drill out the lower control arm hole and put a bigger bolt in it, but now we don't have to. So we're hoping the rear is a direct fit, but it looks like the front will be. And then obviously we're going to be putting new brake lines in all 4 corners of this thing, and we have our new axles here. And yeah, I mean, you can see that the previous axles we took out were absolutely shot, and there's just nothing left of these. This happened to be the case when we weren't even pulling on it very hard, and it completely came off. So they're pretty straightforward. Obviously, you're gonna have to, you know, finagle it if that's the only thing you're switching. But since we're replacing everything, that's what we wanted to do. Is we wanted to switch out the axles, the lift kit, the brake lines. We wanted to do it all at once. That way, you know, because we have access to everything, right? So we're gonna keep going. Everything's pretty straightforward. Even to knock off those little caps for the knuckles, super straightforward. You just put a flat head in it. You work your way around. Nothing's really given us issues. This is a West Coast car, so nothing's been too rusty. And yeah, pretty straightforward. These bolts are super long. You just have to keep pushing them all the way in. There's 2 soft lines on each side, so that was a bit difficult in terms of just like, you know, there's not a lot of room, but obviously they know you're going to switch them out. So from factory, they make enough room for it. Doesn't seem like it, but there is. Once we wrap up here, we are going to move to the back, but very stoked with the comparison, because that is just, we just know that's going to feel so much better in the car. So Easy peasy. So we are working on the rear now, and the rear should be pretty straightforward. We're planning to disconnect the shock and disconnect the sway bar end link. And then we saw a video where someone put a jack, one of those like piston jacks, between the bump stop and the axle. And then that gave them enough room to actually pull out the spring, switch that out, and since we're disconnecting the shock, that we will be replacing that as well. Not only will it make installing the bigger, the 2-inch spring easier, but we're replacing it anyway, so it only makes sense. And so we're gonna do this on both sides. We got the front wheel on. We're kind of running into an issue where when we turn the wheel, that it looks like it's gonna hit the body, which is pretty common when you try to run 33s, but I think if we bring it to the right alignment shop and we get it aligned so that we get the most caster out of the setup, we should be able to avoid the body. Not sure that we have that kind of time today, so we're gonna be doing like a pretty straightforward test where we just drive straight on a dirt road, feel what the suspension feels like, and obviously, we don't have the most time to dial in the caster, but eventually we will get that dialed in so that we can go take this thing on some trails and obviously have fun with it and not worry about it binding on anything. So yeah, but as you can see, the new wheels look absolutely sick. Like the old ones look so small compared to those. I cannot wait. I mean, obviously when you do a lift, you're raising the car and the wheels are gonna look smaller. So we're stepping up from 31s to 33s, also with a deeper wheel, like in terms of the face of the rim. And I think it's gonna look so sick. So very excited for it. We're gonna get the rear buttoned up. Actually, once we get the rear set up, we're gonna bleed the brakes all the way around, and then we are good to go test drive. So very excited for that.
Dude, the fact that works, that's unfair.
Sit on it. Let's go. Look how much beefier that is.
Oh, dude.
Like
Quite a
thickness.
bit.
So it'll be stiffer. Dude, look at the size comparison on it. Like, the cylinder is just so much bigger, but like, dude, I think it'll do so good on this car.
Probably. Alright, they're all broken loose.
I want to show you guys the problem we were having with these brake lines is that you can see the OEM tab is like that. It's kind of like an oval and it has two straight ends on it. And it's like that on both sides. But these have a different end on one of them where it has this dual clip hex on it. And it's not the same as this. But on one of the ends it does. So we were like, okay, we're not even sure this is gonna fit. It didn't look like it was fitting. but Shane was able to get it in there on the chassis side of it. And they actually give you a clip in the package. They give you this clip so that it can sandwich it on both sides with the OEM tab and this new tab. Now, this new tab is actually going to sit on the bottom one, and you're actually going to want to get that in before you put these in. That way, you know, once it fits in, it's already there, and you just put your OEM tab on the top side like it comes from factory. These fit in. It doesn't seem like they're going to fit when you put them in from the bottom, but when you look at it from the back side, you'll see that it actually fits flush, and then that's when you know you're ready to put your clip in. It seems like the OEM clip is going to be really loose on the top side part of the brake line, but once the U part gets around it, it's actually going to hold it very snug, you know, with the tension that these clips have. So don't worry about that. It's actually in there very well, and we're going to tighten these hard lines to it and be good to go. You can obviously see it's way more extended than the OEM ones. It's hitting my gas tank. But we had the OEM ones in, and when we were at this droop, they were actually very tight. Like, there was tension on them, and we're not even at full droop because we're gonna loosen the rest of the suspension to settle when we have our 2-inch lift in here. I'm glad that we're actually doing these brake lines because they were very snug, and if we didn't do them, they were gonna tug and probably break. So yeah, it just takes some finesse with it. It's definitely easier if you have your rear coil out. We still have to put these brake lines in that go to the caliper. So again, make sure you get those. I got them from Stop Tech. The other ones were Trail Gear. It's not that these are extended. They don't need to be extended. They just need to be hard lines so that they don't burst because you have more durable lines on the rest of the car. These will be your weak point. So make sure to get them. Again, they're not extended. You just want them to be the same consistent pressure on the whole system. So we're gonna get these done. It looks like it's just a tab up here and then a bolt down here for the different style connection. So if you are buying, if you're trying to buy both, just know that that one's going to be 2 of this style of line is going to be for that one. And then if you're looking at brake lines and they have this kind of connection, then they go from the axle to the brake caliper. So 2 different styles. It's pretty easy to distinguish them. But yeah, make sure you get both, replace both, and you'll be good to go. So we're almost there. We're just gonna finish that next one and put these guys in, finish the rest of the suspension, and we'll be good to go. So I just want to show this comparison real quick. So we have the stock hole. Look how small that hole is that feeds fluid to the brake caliper from the line. Now look at the hole on this one. The performance that you're going to get from this is just going to be so much better. So, you know, the rubber liner are going to expand anyway, so you're already gaining performance from putting the steel braided on, but let alone this bolt, it's just going to help so much more. So just wanted to show that comparison if you guys were thinking about doing this, that it's more than just the lines. You know, even the hardware that Stop Tech is providing. It's just going to help improve it that much more. Washer bushing, washer with lip, this is a bushing with lip, and then the bushing, and then the top one, and then the nut. The other side. So it is officially a month later that I've had my lift on my 4th Gen 4runner, and I feel like that was a sufficient amount of time to actually give you my honest opinions on doing the suspension upgrade. Obviously, we have the 2-inch in the rear, the 2.5 in the front, and it has a little bit of rake. The drivability of this upgraded suspension has been absolutely amazing. Obviously, Dobinsons have been proven time and time again. My friends who have them absolutely love the way this thing rides. I love the way it rides. Obviously, having a bigger tire profile is going to help with that. We take potholes, bumps, anything on the road, it's just absolutely smooth. One thing I will say is that the rear shock that we put on is meant to take an additional 400 load. It's a little bit stiffer in the rear than I would like, but when you pair that with maybe towing or eventually a rear bumper and something of that sort, then it will absolutely be perfect. I've given people rides in it, and with even just with extra passengers, this thing feels so much better. We are also not rocking a rear sway bar. I haven't noticed any issues whatsoever, and I have highway driven this car quite a lot since I've done this lift, and no, it never feels unstable whatsoever. But maybe having the stiffer rear springs probably helps with that. The extended brake lines have done such an amazing job. The pedal is definitely firmer, and the 4runner does stop pretty quick now. It's really a night and day difference. The only thing I would say, and this is not a suspension flaw whatsoever, this just happens to come when you run bigger tires, is that we are rubbing the fenders really bad. And I think at some point I'll do a body chop so that I can continue to run these tires. These are 33s compared to my 30s or 31s, I believe. So definitely the upgrade, and it's just the way it happens to be with this offset of wheel, this size of tire, that we're running into these issues. But this suspension has absolutely transformed my 4runner, and I'm excited to go on more trips. We're planning some trips already, but I definitely have to figure out the body chop before we can, full send it on some trails. I'd really like to get a bumper and maybe a spoiler on this thing. Plans for the future are definitely there, so if you guys are excited for more content, and if there's anything else you guys want to see, just let me know down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.